friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing another Copic coloring video, choosing one critter to color in multiple different ways so that you have maybe some new combinations to try or just some different color palettes to introduce in case you're using some different pattern paper or different cardstock and you want to color something to match. So I have done quite a few of these videos and I've been storing these sheets in this little photo album that I picked up at the thrift store. And I really like having this on my desk as a quick and easy resource. Anytime that I want to color in one of these critters, I can kind of flip through and see what color palettes I've already tried, and if I want to repeat one of those or even try something new. So today I'm actually going to be coloring frogs, and I'm going to be using the Lawn Fawn Totally Awesome stamp set. So I've stamped one of these frogs out 6 times, and we are going to jump right in with the first combo, which is going to be YG01, YG05, and YG09. Because these frogs are facing completely forward, I'm going to be putting my shadows equally on both the left and the right. I'm putting that around the side of the face and in the crease between the eyes, also in the creases between the legs, and a little shadow where the forearms are covering the belly a little bit. And then I'll start to blend that out with the YG05. This is my typical go-to combo for frogs, so I'm starting out with one that I'm most comfortable with, but then I definitely want to try out some new combos, not only just to show you what you can do, but also just to discover some new combos for myself. So next I'm going to come in with YG01. I'm going to fill in the face and add a little bit of that to the hands. And then I will add a touch of that to the belly and blend out the belly with the YG00, just so we have a little bit of contrast. I did see that the blend wasn't quite as smooth as I wanted, so I went back in with my mid-tone in a couple different places and just flicked in a little extra color, and then went back in with my YG01 and smoothed that out. And then I'm going to come in with my darkest color, which is the YG09, and just add a little dot detail to give him some fun personality and a little bit of texture to his skin. And once I'm happy with how he's looking, I'm just going to jot down this combo right underneath him so that you guys have that as a reference if you'd like to color along with me. For frog number 2, I am stepping right out of my comfort zone and doing a combo that I've never tried together before, and that is YG41, YG45, and YG67. So I really like the YG41 and YG45. I don't use them that often because there's only 2 markers in that family, and there's just not enough dimension with only those 2 shades for me. So I decided to pair those with the YG67 just to add a little extra depth. And I am coloring right over that with the YG45 because the YG67 is much more kind of like muted and brownish, while the YG41 and YG45 are much more blue toned. So just having that little bit of the YG67 under there added enough depth that it, created like a 3rd shade between the combination of those darkest 2. I used the YG41 for the highlight, but I could see that it was pushing the YG45 back too far. So I went in with a second layer of that mid-tone and tried to flick that in a little bit more so that I could feather in the YG41 and just help them blend a little bit better. It still wasn't quite doing what I wanted it to, so I decided to do a little bit of tip to tip, picking up some of the YG45 with the YG41 and kind of using that to transition between the 2 shades. So there's nothing wrong with going over your Copics twice or even 3 times. As long as you don't oversaturate the paper, you can continue to blend. I used the YG11 to finish off the belly, and then went back in with my dot detail with the YG67 once the frog was dry, and just added that little bit of texture in there as well. And I do really like how this combo turned out. I think in the end result, it was something really different and fun. So I'm just going to jot down those shades for you guys, and then we'll move on to frog number 3. So for frog number 3, I'm again going a little bit out of my comfort zone and making up a combo that I thought might work well just based on looking at my Copic color chart and seeing what might be compatible. I usually do tend to stick to color families, but this one is not doing that at all. So I'm using YG23 with YG17 and G29. So that G29 is my darkest. I laid in my shadows with that, and then I blended out the shadows with the YG17, which is probably my favorite green shade of Copic marker. I just really love YG17. I think it works great for a lot of things. And then I'm going to use YG23 for the highlight. And then I added a little bit of that to the belly. I did go over with a second layer of the YG23 on the frog. And to finish off the belly, I am going to pull in that YG00 again, just to give it a little bit more of that yellow tone. And then once he's dry, I went back in with the YG29 for that dot detail, which you could leave off if you want to, but I just think it's a subtle little accent that makes them look more unique and just sets apart your coloring from somebody else's. So then I'm going to go to frog number 4, and I decided to go with a more blue toned combo again. So I'm going back to the G's. I really liked the shades on the frog in the middle above, so I wanted to try that with just the G's and not the YGs. So I pulled in G02, G03, and G09. Started with the G09, although I will say that it showed up a little bit lighter than it typically does, and I did just refill my markers, so it's possible that when I was cleaning out the caps, I left a little bit of alcohol in there and that diluted the pigment. Now, it probably wasn't enough to change the whole marker, but it may have just diluted the ink that was on the tip, so I may have to just scribble that out a little bit. But I used that G09 as the darkest, blended out with the G03, then used the G02, and I wanted a little bit more lightness around his mouth, so I added in G00. I also added that to the belly, and then I decided to go back and add a little bit of that G02 to the belly and just blend out with that G00. So that made it just a little bit lighter than the rest of his body. I did try to go back and just add a second layer of that G09 and darken him up a bit, and that did help, but it still wasn't quite as dark as I wanted it. So in the end, I decided to add in an additional marker, and so I stuck with the G's and added in G19. And so that is going to help immensely just to increase that depth around the edges and give me that more dynamic look that I like to go for. So I blended that back out with the G09, and then I went back to that G02 and just added a couple little flicks down by his neck to smooth that out, and then added my dot detail in with the G19. So a little bit of extra markers on this one, but you may be able to leave off maybe the G09 or the G03. I think one of those probably is unnecessary, but that's what I used for this one, so that's what I'm going to write down for you. Moving on to frog number 5, I wanted to go with something that was a little bit more desaturated, has a little bit more of a grayish undertone. It's not quite as bright. So I'm using G40, G43, G46, and G28. So I started with that G28 and laid in my shadows with that. And then I came in with my G46, and to be honest, the G46 was nearly as dark as the G28. So you probably could also leave off the G28 if you want to, but I'm just going to continue coloring next with the G43, working my way toward the center of the face, trying to keep that where the highlight is so that we can focus on his sweet little smile. Then I blended out the G43 with the G40, and I will also add a little bit of G43 to his belly and then blend out with the G40. I did go over him with a second layer as well. Sorry that I missed that. My camera died and it's so old that it doesn't beep and let me know when that happens. So I just went over that with one extra layer and then added in his dot detail. And then I'm going to jot those numbers down underneath. So we are going to move on to our 6th and final frog, and this time I'm going to go with super desaturated shades. I'm using BG90, BG93, BG96, and BG99, and you can tell from those 9s in there that these have a lot of gray tone in them. And it really just depends on the kind of scene that you're coloring. If you're coloring like a child's birthday card that you want to be really bright and happy, you probably want to go for something more bright and yellow toned. But if you're creating a card that is more for an adult man or something and you want to have more moody shades, you might want to go with something that is a bit more desaturated. And so I just wanted to run the whole gamut of possibilities. And so I started with the BG99 for this one, blended out with the BG96. Then I came in with the BG93 and continued blending. And then I am going to finish with that BG90. And there is a big step between the BG90 and the BG93. I wish there was a BG91, but there is not. But these two are a little bit hard to get to blend. So again, I'm going to have to do a little bit of tip to tip and try to bring those colors a little bit closer together, and then just continue using that BG90 until the BG93 is no longer there and it kind of just softens back into its usual shade. So it took a little bit of work to get this one to blend out nicely, but I do like how it turned out in the end. And once I've got him as smoothed out as I possibly could, I went back in with my darkest shade for that dot detail. And I like to keep it right in the darkest shadowed areas so it's more subtle, but you could certainly add in a few more dots or even switch to a lighter shade and bring them in a little bit closer. It just depends on the look that you are going for. I accidentally added in an extra comma between the BG and 96 as I was jotting down those colors, but I just went with it. And now I'm going to add in some rosy cheeks just to really bring these guys home. I like to add rosy cheeks to all of my critters. Just makes them look more happy and cheerful. And it depends on the color palette that I'm using. Sometimes I'll go for a warmer pink tone. Sometimes I'll go a little bit cooler. So I decided to show you both. I'm doing the warmer pink tone on the top row using R00, R21, and R22. And I am going to do a second layer on that with the darkest 2 shades, just to increase that depth and saturation since those frogs are fairly dark. And then for the bottom row, I'm going to go with the cooler toned pink combo that I will use for blush, which is RV10, RV11, and RV13. And just like above, I will do a second layer of just those darkest two shades to really help that stand out against the green of the frogs. And I just think that brings them over the top and just makes them look so happy. And that is going to finish off today's video. So let me know down in the comments which frog is your favorite, and also let me know which critter you think that I should color next. I just really needed to color something that was not brown for a change, just because I'm so tired of the brown and grays of winter. I just wanted something that was fresh and bright and fun, and frogs seem to fit that bill. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, please be sure to hit that thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. I love to hear from you. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell if you want to be alerted when I post new videos. The products I use will be listed and linked in the description bar below in case you'd like to pick up anything for yourself. And if you'd like to keep watching, here are 2 extra videos I thought you might also enjoy. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I hope you had a good one, and I'll see you soon in another video. Bye-bye.